This is the amazing butter chicken which you can make at home using very simple ingredients. This butter chicken is made using fresh ingredients and very less spices. The chicken is tender and the gravy is mildly spicy, which makes the whole dish really amazing. So without wasting any time, let's get started with this recipe. The first thing you will need is chicken. I'm using the boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which I feel is the best part for making any Indian curry. You can go for the chicken breast, chicken drumsticks, or even for the whole chicken, but in my experience, chicken thighs seems to have the best taste in this kind of gravy. The first thing we're gonna do is marinate this chicken. So I will take some yogurt. We have to stir this yogurt, so you can also use a whisk for this, but here I am using a spoon. Now we're gonna add some ginger garlic paste. You can also go for the fresh ginger garlic, but I gonna use the paste here. Our next ingredient would be table salt, some garam masala, and some red chili powder. I have used a half teaspoon of red chili powder because red chili powder gonna make our chicken really spicy. So instead of using red chili powder, I will use the Kashmiri chili. Kashmiri chili is way less spicier compared to red chili powder, but it provides that amazing red color to our chicken. The next ingredient we're gonna use is fenugreek leaves. These leaves gonna really enhance the flavor of our chicken. You can rub these leaves in your hand and make it in powder form. And the last ingredient to our marination is lemon juice. You can go for a fresh lemon juice, but you can also opt for this lemon concentrate. Now we're gonna mix all of these really well. I'm going to use my hands here in order to mix the spices with the yogurt. Once our mixture is ready, you can add the chicken in it. I always wash my chicken before using it, but I have seen some people who do not wash their chicken, so it's up to you, but you can add the chicken at this stage. Please mix the chicken with the marination and keep it aside for at least 30 minutes in a cold place. Since our marinated chicken is ready, we can start working on our gravy. For the gravy, we need some garlic, 1 onion, 3 tomatoes, and a small piece of fresh ginger. You can use the ginger garlic paste instead of using the fresh ones, but I am going to use the fresh ones here. For best consistency of our gravy, we're gonna use 1/4 of an onion for every 1 tomato. Since I am using 3 tomatoes here, so I gonna use 3/4 of our onion. Now we're gonna chop our onions, garlic, ginger, and tomatoes. Since we are going to make a gravy from all of this, so we don't need a fine chopping here. I'm gonna cut all of this in square pieces as we're gonna use a mixer later on for the gravy. I'm also going to use some coriander stems. These are really optionals, but if you have coriander at home, I would suggest you to use the stems in this gravy. So let's start the cooking process. The first thing I'm gonna use is vegetable oil. You can use the corn oil or any other oil at home. I'm approximately using 2 tablespoons of the oil. Our heat is on medium and we will wait until our oil gets heated up. Now I will use 2 green cardamom and 1 dry red chili. You can skip the dry red chili, but I would suggest you to not miss the green cardamom. I'm gonna put this in the oil. The next spice I'm gonna use is cumin seeds. You can also opt for the cumin powder, but if you are using the cumin powder, you have to use that later in the video. If you wanna know more about Indian spices, you can watch out this video where I have explained all the Indian spices that you will ever need. This video will really help out with the Indian spices, and if you haven't watched it yet, I would suggest you to see it after this video. As you can see, our cumin and other spices are cooked well, so I'm gonna put in our garlic and ginger along with our onions. After a minute or 2, you can add some cashews to the onions. This cashews gonna enhance the taste of our gravy, so I would suggest you to not miss this. You can give it a good mix and wait for 2 minutes. Now you can add the tomatoes and the coriander stems and give it a good mix once again. The next thing I'm gonna add is table salt. After giving it a good mix, I will cover it and keep it on medium heat for at least 5 minutes. It's really important to cook our onions, cashews and tomatoes before you add water in this gravy. You have to cook all of these ingredients because adding water will start the boiling process and I don't want these ingredients to taste uncooked. Now everything is cooked properly and you can see our tomatoes are mashed up. So I will add some water to this mix. You can cover this mix and let it boil for at least 10 to 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, turn off your heat and let this mixture to cool down naturally. Now I gonna cook my chicken, so I will use a different pan and keep it on medium-high heat. I will add some oil to it. As you can see, I am using very small quantities of oil and I would suggest you to do the same because our chicken will release its oil, which will help it in cooking. Once our oil is ready, I will add the marinated chicken and we will cook the 95% of our chicken on this step. I'm gonna add some water to our leftover marination and put it in our chicken. We have to cook this chicken really well on both of its sides and I would suggest you to not turn the chicken until its side is fully cooked. So while our chicken is cooking, we will work on our gravy. As you can see, our mixture is cold now. So I'm gonna transfer this mixture to my mixer grinder and I'm gonna grind this mixture really well and convert it into a gravy. Now I'm going to use a strainer here. If you want your butter chicken to be silky smooth, just like restaurants, I would suggest you to follow this step and use a strainer. But you can also skip this step if you don't mind having some tomato seeds in your gravy. I will quickly transfer the leftover mixture and make its gravy. Transfer it to the mixture bowl. Now I will transfer my gravy to the strainer. This step will remove all those spices and leftover green cardamoms, so our gravy will become silky smooth. You can add some water to it, but I would suggest you to not add a lot of water here. As you can see, there is a lot of leftovers and we're gonna throw this. So the gravy for our butter chicken is ready. Keep a check on your chicken and turn it around. Cover your chicken while it's cooking, as it will help your chicken to get juicy and tender, and the oil and juices from the chicken gonna help our chicken to be cooked properly. For the next step, I gonna use some whole spices. The first whole spice I gonna use here is black cardamom. I will use 1 black cardamom, 1 bay leaf, 3 or 4 cloves, some cinnamon sticks. I would suggest you to have a good quantity of cinnamon sticks as they add a really good taste to our butter chicken. And guys, again, if you don't know about these spices, you can check out this video. I'm also going to add a star, but you can skip this if you don't have this one. And if you don't have these spices, you can skip all of these, but I would suggest you to add a good quantity of garam masala in the end. So I'm gonna use the same pan and add some oil to it. Since this is the butter chicken and we're gonna do the further cooking in the butter, but I would suggest you to add a spoon of oil here, as this oil will protect our butter from getting burnt up. You can put more butter if required, but I would suggest you to go for 60 to 70 grams only. Now we're gonna put our whole spices to this butter. The next thing I'm gonna use here is red chili powder, some coriander powder, some cumin powder and a lot of Kashmiri chili. This Kashmiri chili will give the really good color to a butter chicken, but it's not very spicy. So always be careful with your red chili powder. Always use the Kashmiri chili if you want that red color but don't want your food to be spicy. We will give a good mix to these spices and wait until our spices are cooked properly. We have to be careful as we don't want these spices to get burned up. So if your heat level is high, I would suggest you to add some water to it. But if your heat level is low, please wait for your spices to get cooked properly. Otherwise they won't taste good. Once you can feel that great aroma of the spices, you can add your gravy to this mixture. I will use some water for the leftover gravy, and now we're gonna cook this gravy for at least 15 minutes. You can cover this gravy and focus on your chicken once again. As you can see, our chicken is cooked properly, so I'm gonna cut these pieces into smaller ones. I will cut all the pieces one by one, and you can see our chicken is well cooked. And guys, all this leftover in our pan is the spices, oil and juices from our chicken. So please don't throw this away. Add some water to this and use it in our gravy. But please note, you always have to use hot water for the gravy. Keep checking your gravy after every 2 to 3 minutes, but keep it covered as your gravy will start coming out. We have to cook our gravy for at least 10 to 15 minutes, as this cooking process will really enhance the taste of our gravy. Now I will add some milk to this gravy. You can also use the creams, as most of the restaurants use the cream for the gravy, but I am not going to buy the cream just for this one dish, so I will use the milk and it gonna taste the same. I will use approximately 100 to 150 ml of milk and give the gravy a good mix. Now I will add the water from that pan, and this will really enhance the taste of our gravy. This water acts as a chicken broth and it adds all those chicken fats to our gravy. Now I will add all our chicken to the gravy and give it a good mix. I will add some honey to this butter chicken in order to bring that sweet taste, but you can also go for the sugar. In my view, honey tastes the best, but sugar will also do the work. I will add a small spoon of the honey and give it a good mix once again. You can add some water to your gravy if you like thinner gravy, but always add boiling water. The last ingredient I gonna use in this dish is garam masala. You can check the taste of a chicken at this stage and add some salt or sugar as needed, but do not add any other spice at this point, otherwise it won't taste good. As you can see, our chicken is ready now. I will add some fresh coriander. Guys, this chicken is really amazing. It tastes so good. It's fresh, it's made from the fresh ingredients, and this chicken tastes better than any Indian restaurant. So I would suggest you to make this chicken at home and let me know how was your chicken. If you have any questions, you can comment down below and I will try to answer each one of you. For more recipes, kindly subscribe to my channel, and you can also follow me on TikTok for some tips while cooking Indian dishes. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.